Considering I did a massive video for the sole purpose of clearing up a multitude of rumors, gossip, and misinformation surrounding an icon of black metal, you'd think I would no longer be surprised or annoyed about other content which spread rumors, gossip, and misinformation on a variety of subjects. And yet here we are, with me still being pissed off by the multitude of videos that perpetuate the misconception that the movie Jennifer's Body was inspired by the real-life murder of Elise Paler.
Lies. Oh, lies!
Because YouTube is all about the views, and what better way to gain views than to be a woman talking about true crime? Hey, at least I'm not giving you all the grisly details while doing my hair or makeup. Way to completely undermine any respect for the dead or their families. Remember to like and subscribe and support my Patreon! The reason true crime makeup / hair channels piss me off so much is because these people have clearly done nothing more than read a Wikipedia page or two about the events and proceeded to spend the rest of their planning hour on deciding what hairstyle or makeup palette to choose.
Research? What research? Wikipedia is a credible source now, don't you know, old lady? So why waste time with the most basic of Google searches when I got hair to do over here? These ASMR true crime / beauty videos aren't gonna make themselves.
Let's enter spoiler territory, shall we? For those of you who can't be asked watching my incredibly well-researched and informed video about the murder of Elise Paler, here are the cliff notes. Group of 3 kids want to make it big as a metal band but decide actually practicing their instruments, writing their own music, advertising, playing shitty gigs in shitty venues before embarking on shitty tours is so passé. And what's really in is sacrificing a virgin to Satan. In their defense, it was America during the mid-90s and thanks to the satanic panic, demonology was all the rage. So they tricked their victim, 15-year-old Elise Paler, into meeting them in the woods for some rebellious teen drug-taking, then stabby stab, strangle strangle, hey presto, she's dead. Some liberties are taken with the young woman's corpse before the trio wander off for some post-murder coitus celebrations. 8 months later, one guy just can't live with the guilt anymore, and oh look, they've won a 40-year stay in lockdown in a bunch of shiny orange jumpsuits. How chic! Now let's see how the case is reflected in this Megan Fox masterpiece. Okay, so Megan Fox is the pretty popular girl every girl wants to be and every boy wants to objectify. She's a fan of this douchey indie band who are trying to make it big. Fire breaks out at their gig. The group convince her to go with them into the forest, chanty chant and stabby stab. But wait! It turns out the popular pretty princess isn't a virgin?
You know what? I think the lead singer wants me.
Only because he thinks that you're a virgin. I heard them talking.
What? I'm not even a backdoor virgin anymore, thanks to Roman. And by the way, that hurts.
Wow, what a twist. And the sacrifice fails, you say? So she becomes possessed by the demon? Holy shit, how unique. Did not see that one coming. Pro tip, when you're looking for a young woman to sacrifice to Satan, don't go with the incredibly hot popular girl, because unless she's from a very strict and controlling religious cult, she probably ain't a virgin. Make an ugly girl feel special by leading them on into believing you actually like her, and then stab her in the back. But wow, isn't it just amazing how similar these two stories are? Especially the part where the girl doesn't stay dead, the guys don't engage in necrophilia, and hey, all the guys get murdered at the end of the movie by the pretty popular girl's bestie, who was bitten by her radioactive friend and now has some spider powers of her own. It's like looking into a true crime mirror. And that whole making a deal with the devil / sacrifice to Satan thing, wow, what an original concept. Those kids were so ahead of their time to think of sacrificing a virgin to Satan to get what they wanted without having to put in any effort. It's not as though anyone's ever tried that before. Would you like a muffin with that bullshit smoothie? If nothing else, the band in the movie had formed, played a few gigs, and written a bunch of original songs before they attempted to murder Megan Fox, which is way more than anything the real trio of murderers ever accomplished. Initially, Jennifer's Body was a box office bomb, shocker, with many critics panning the story of Megan Fox's acting, and even her hot bod couldn't save it, with one review stating,
"If you're in search for a way to ogle Megan Fox's body, there are a lot better ways to do it than subjecting yourself to this."
Which just gross, guys, ew.
Stop it. Get some help.
Naturally, the cast and crew blamed the marketing campaign, which was aimed at 19 to 24-year-old men who'd be interested in seeing some girl-on-girl action. But to be fair, this is a movie featuring a woman who is known more for her body than her acting ability, playing one half of a pair of high school girls exploring their sexuality, and it was called Jennifer's Body. Really, they kind of shot themselves in the foot with that one. Though I am glad they vetoed the marketing department's idea of having Megan Fox host an amateur porn site. There's standard objectification, and then there's just, dude, what the fuck? As well, at the time Megan Fox was doing press for the movie, she was involved in a very public dispute with Michael Bay, director of the Transformer movies, and unfortunately, people bought into his bullshit story of Fox being difficult to work with. He even published a letter he'd been sent from the Transformers film crew, which used some incredibly cruel language to make some very biased accusations. All this spilled over into the Jennifer's Body press tour until Fox finally had enough and said that on-set Michael Bay was comparable with Napoleon, or, and prepare for demonetization, everyone's favorite fascist, Hitler. Consequently, she was fired from the third Transformers movie and kinda disappeared. Getting with Machine Gun Kelly didn't help her reputation and career much either. But Jennifer's Body had a resurgence in popularity around 2018 when reputable news outlet BuzzFeed featured an article titled "You Probably Owe Jennifer's Body an Apology." And yeah, Megan Fox certainly is owed an apology from anyone who objectified her or happily believed she was a vain, selfish, entitled, airheaded bitch just because she was pretty. So, Megan Fox, who will likely never see this is my apology. I judged you unfairly without even knowing you, and that's on me. I'm sorry. Still can't believe you married MGK though. In the wake of the Me Too movement, Jennifer's Body has been praised as a pro-feminist, anti-patriarchy cult horror movie which was ahead of its time, and that's why it failed. Not because it's kind of boring and is trying to tell 3 different stories, no, it's because it was ahead of its time. That must mean all the reviews which were critical of the film must have been written by men and didn't include a single bad review written by a woman back in 2009 when this movie was released. That must mean all women loved it! Oh wait, no, they did not. They did not. And funny enough, its rating on Rotten Tomatoes has barely shifted on either the critics or audience side in the 10 plus years since its release. But it was ahead of its time. Writer Diablo Cody and director Karen Kusama said they wanted to tell a story about teenage female relationships, how they can be really toxic, and something about how they reinforce the patriarchy. I don't know about you, I'm all for equality, women's rights, body autonomy, and whatnot, but I've been burned by so many feminists banging on about the patriarchy and how we're all still so terribly, terribly oppressed and all men are evil rapists, murderers just waiting for their chance to hurt women for their own fun and profit, that I find it difficult to read these kind of analyses with any semblance of objectivity. Especially when I read a comment like, if a guy wrote a movie with the line, "Hell is a teenage girl," I would reject that. But I'm allowed to say it because I was one? That just sounds incredibly toxic to my ear. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. I don't know. Look, the majority of horror audiences don't watch horror movies for cerebral reasons. They go for schlock, to be scared, for gore, or for a bad date. That doesn't mean a horror movie can't contain commentary on bigger social issues. It's more of a know your audience. And I realize I'm at risk of turning into the drinker here, dismissing a movie because it dares to even allude to the message. But if Cody and Kusama wanted to make a movie about female exploitation and the toxicity of teen-girl relationships, they could have done that perfectly well without making it into a horror movie. The horror element felt very crowbarred in and not relevant / necessary to the story. It makes this feel like 2 movies stuffed into one runtime, and the result is very awkward. Look, it's not a bad movie, it's not Titanic 2, but it's no Titanic. There's some good dark humor, some solid dialogue, the performances are decent, the effects are pretty damn good, the music is a nice touch, and Adam Brody plays a douchey indie band frontman well. A little too well.
I'm in survival mode right now, and I want us to get to a familiar place. And right now I feel like that's my van.
So to conclude, Jennifer's Body is your typical high school horror movie which checks off all the major tropes with the occasional glimmer of humor and gore, a few fun moments, and while it doesn't try to shove its message down your throat, it's kind of boring to watch since it can't really decide on what it wants to be. But it is in no way based upon or related to the tragic case of Elise Paler and her horrific, senseless murder. Writer Diablo Cody has never confirmed the story was based on Elise, and a basic comparison of the two would prove that to even the most brain-dead makeup hairstylists if they even bothered to try. Any video, article, or podcast that tries to convince you otherwise is just pathetic clickbait from lazy content creators who prefer to parrot and peddle bullshit smoothies in exchange for that sweet, sweet viewership. Rant over. Thanks for watching. I realized this was more of a rant video than an actual deep dive / comparison of the movie versus the true story, but considering, there's really no links, I wasn't gonna bother wasting time because that's pointless. Please like, subscribe, and comment any movies you'd like to hear me rant about in the future. I also have a Patreon. Go ahead and support me over there. It would be massively appreciated. You do get perks in return, don't worry. I'm just gonna leave it there, so until next time, stay safe, have fun. Sorry, Megan Fox.